Good morning, federal employees. Welcome to this episode with me, your host. My name is Dallin Hawes. It is great to spend some time with you today. And the question that I have for you today is, are you overpaying for your life insurance? Okay, first, do you need any life insurance? So maybe you're not just overpaying, you're paying for something you don't need at all. Or two, are you overpaying? Are you paying too much for something where you can go get it somewhere else for much, much cheaper? That's what we're gonna talk about today. So when we talk about insurance, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, any type of insurance, there's a couple things you have to know right off the bat. And that is, insurance should be used to cover the needs, the financial needs of something that you could not cover, you cannot afford to cover yourself. So for example, life insurance. If you were to pass away or your spouse was to pass away, would it leave a financial need that you could not figure out yourself without the life insurance? If so, if there's that sort of need, then you need life insurance, right? Often, I see people getting insurance for lots of things, whether it is maybe you buy a product and they sell you an insurance policy or a warranty, right? And those are not always a bad thing to get, but you have to keep in mind that the insurance company, the people offering the warranty or the insurance, they know the numbers, right? They know exactly how many people are going to need that warranty, that insurance, and so they run it so it's always in their favor. Where more often than not, they're going to win, right? And that is why you, as the consumer, you want to figure out, okay, what can I afford to handle myself, right? And if I can't afford to handle it myself, then maybe I don't need insurance for that. So that's one way to frame it before we dig into this topic, okay? Now, when we talk about life insurance, there's a couple things to keep in mind. And today I'm gonna focus on FEGLI, F-E-G-L-I, and that is the life insurance you have through your job as a federal employee. Okay, now, this type of insurance, they call it a group term insurance. Basically what that means is it's a group, right? It's a whole group of federal employees that are in this plan together, right? It's a group, but also it's term. It's not meant to necessarily last until you're 100, right? That's not necessarily how it's meant. And the price will increase over time depending on what type of coverage you have. So when you're comparing that to, let's say, other life insurance outside on the private side, there's term insurance, which is one main one, and then there's whole life insurance. And term insurance is meant to last only a certain amount of time, and whole life is meant to last for the rest of your life, right? And most people, they say, hey, don't I want my life insurance to last until I'm gone, right? For the rest of my life? Well, maybe. Do you have a need for life insurance for the rest of your life? Often people get to a point in maybe their retirement or even just during their career where they have enough financial resources, maybe they have enough saved, maybe they have paid out all their debts, where there really isn't a need for insurance anymore. So that's the question number one, that before you go any farther of finding where to get the best rates when it comes to life insurance, whether it's FEGLI or not FEGLI, the first question you have to ask is, do you need it, right? And there's a common situations where life insurance may be needed. For example, let's say there's a young family. There's, husband, wife, let's say the classical family, okay? Husband, wife, 2 kids, okay? Let's say the husband is a federal employee, the wife stays home with the kids. Very stereotypical situation, okay? Obviously, not everyone's in this situation, but let's say that that's the case. Well, maybe the husband needs life insurance because if he was to pass away, he'd leave his spouse and his 2 kids in a financial situation where they would not be able to have the same standard of living that they would have before, right? So maybe in that case, of course, they may need life insurance depending on what debt they have. Maybe you want life insurance to cover your mortgage. You don't want your mortgage to go to your kids or whatever it is, right? Or maybe you're about to retire or retiring, and your spouse is not going to have enough income if you were to pass away. Maybe a large chunk of the retirement income that you guys are going to have is going to be tied to you and will actually go away when you pass away, and your spouse won't have enough for their needs, right? And so when it comes to kind of figuring this out, especially in retirement, there's a few things you want to think about. Think about your pension survivor benefits. Does your spouse get any of your pension? What did you decide to leave her, right, or him? If you were to pass away, what Social Security benefits are going to stick around? What investments are going to be around? What other income are they going to have if you pass away? Those are the first few things to nail down. Is, okay, do they need life insurance? Do you need life insurance? And once you have answered that question of, okay, do I need life insurance? And a quick story, I guess, before I jump onto another topic, is I was talking with a federal employee. It's been months ago. And they had been sold, really, I'll put it this way, 2 life insurance policies. They each had one. They were $1 million each, whole life policies. And they were very expensive. They cost about $1,000 a month for these policies, okay? And so for both of them. So for every year, they're spending $24,000 on this insurance. Now, again, that's not always, sometimes you need that much insurance, right? Depending on the situation. But in their situation, they had no kids, no mortgage, and really no need for it at all. Right, and maybe they did some life insurance, but not nearly that much, and definitely not whole life insurance, because whole life insurance is much more expensive than term insurance, right? So again, answer that question, how much do you need? And then of course the next question that is right next to that is, how long do you need life insurance? Because when you look at pricing, then that makes a big difference of, okay, I'm gonna need life insurance until, let's say, my kids are out of the house. I'm gonna need life insurance until my house is paid off. I'm gonna need life insurance until I have enough in my TSP where if I passed away, my spouse is gonna be fine. They're gonna have enough income, they're gonna be just fine, right? How long do you need life insurance? And once you know that, then you can really shop around and say, okay, I need life insurance for this amount of time. What is the best tool to make that happen? Now, again, we're gonna focus on FEGLI today, FEGLI, your federal life insurance, right? Now, there are 4 parts to this life insurance, okay? Now, and I actually did a huge, long, ultimate guide going through these 4 parts, what they are, the differences. I'm gonna go over a quick summary today, but if you want a more in-depth review of what those 4 parts are and how they work in your career and in retirement, check that out. If you just Google Haas Federal Advisors FEGLI Ultimate Guide, it'll pop right up. It'll come up in one of the first few results, no problem at all. So definitely check that out if you want more information there. But bottom line is this. There is FEGLI Basic, FEGLI A, B, and C. Those are the 4 different parts of FEGLI that you can have during your career, okay? And then you could keep, of course, some of those into retirement. So the FEGLI Basic is what most federal employees are gonna have. It is the default when you become a federal employee. And it has enough coverage for about your salary's worth, okay? Option A is $10,000 worth of coverage, okay? Option B, you can get for a multiple of your salary, so 1 to 5, right? So the max would be 5 times your salary. And then option C is some coverage you can get for your spouse and kids. It's not very much coverage, but you can get some for your spouse and kids. So those are the summary of those 4 types of insurance, and they all work a little differently in your career and in retirement. But the bottom line is this. The 2 that are used the most common is basic, which is your salary, right? It's kind of the default that your default put into when you start. And second is part B, okay? Part B is really the one that gets people in trouble, okay? And the reason is the price changes as you age, okay? And especially as you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, it can get very, very expensive. And actually, on the YouTube channel, I'm gonna be sharing my screen here in just a little bit of showing some of the prices, how it does change over time, and maybe some alternatives of what makes sense for you. And now, when it comes to finding out, okay, what am I actually paying for my life insurance? A great place to look, of course, is your leave and earning statement. It'll show up there. And generally, depending on what type you have, whether it's basic, part B, it'll show up on different line items. You can say, okay, what am I actually paying every 2 weeks for this insurance? And do I still need it? You can kind of start thinking through when you look at how much you're actually paying. But also, if you want to find out what you're going to be paying, at least based on today's rates, in the future, you can go to OPM's website. They have some great resources there where they show the different rates, whether it's biweekly or monthly, per $1,000 is normally how they do it. So you take, of course, the monthly or biweekly rate and you times it by how many thousands of dollars of coverage that type of insurance provides you, right? Like I said, the basic life insurance covers about your salary's worth, a little more than that. And then option A is about $10,000. Option B here is, of course, a multiple of your salary depending on which you picked, okay? So now you can go and you can see, I'm actually sharing my screen here on the YouTube channel. You can see that option B, which is, again, where if you need quite a bit of insurance, option B is where people go, right? Unless, of course, they have insurance elsewhere, right? Now, you can see that as people get into 40s, 50s, 60s, the coverage starts to double, and double again, about every 5 years. And so it gets increasingly more and more expensive. When a federal employee is relatively young, it's actually pretty darn competitive insurance, where it's hard to beat depending on your health, right? But as you get older, the price automatically is going to increase, where it gets very, very expensive. So again, you have to answer the question, okay, do you need insurance? And if you do, how long? Maybe FEGLI will work great for you, because once it comes to the point that it gets really expensive, you don't need it anymore. Maybe the need has gone away. If that's the case, maybe just stick with it, right? If not, you may want to look at other options. For example, WAEPA is a great option. Now, I'm not compensated by WAEPA at all, 0%, okay? And that is spelled WAEPA, okay? Bottom line, they are almost an alternative to FEGLI. Again, they are group term insurance specifically for federal employees, right? I don't get paid by them at all to mention them, okay? I just believe, hey, they're a cool option. Because first, they allow you to keep your federal life, or not federal, they allow you to keep the insurance even if you leave your job. So maybe you're planning to leave the federal government before you retire. Well, maybe this is a great option, right? Also, they allow you to get more coverage if you need it, up to 1.5 million, where with FEGLI, you're capped by your salary, right? Up to 5 times your salary with Part B, right? And so there's a few really nice parts, and they tend to be cheaper depending on your age. So if you just go to the WAEPA website, you can find all the rates, you can calculate what it would be to get coverage there, and you can check it out, right? But again, a great place to look for, okay, what is the cost of FEGLI as an employee? And then especially when you're retired, you can go to the OPM website. If you just Google OPM FEGLI rates, it'll pop right up. You'll be able to go through it. Again, I'm sharing on my screen some of the places to go look where you can see the different prices and what it's going to do depending on, there's different options you can pick into retirement. I'm not going to go super deep into this today. There's a couple of options to pick. Okay, if you keep some of this insurance into retirement, which again gets very expensive, the cost of it, right? Now, the last option really when it comes to keeping or having life insurance, right, is looking elsewhere. Whether it's looking at just a private life insurance company, right? Or maybe you're a military retiree and maybe you have a VGLI, right? There's veteran life insurance, and that could be quite cost effective depending on the situation. You can also go get insurance just at a private insurance company like USAA, Prudential, State Farm. There's hundreds of different options of private life insurance, right? Now, generally how it works is if your health is good, it's generally pretty easy to get life insurance, especially if you're younger, right? But as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult. Now, the perk of FEGLI is that when you become a federal employee, you can pick whatever you want, and they don't do any medical exams, right, when you are hired, right? You can just get in, and that is why it gets so expensive as you age, because there's no medical exams for people to get in when they're hired, right? So these are some of the biggest things again to think about when it comes to picking insurance and looking at, okay, am I paying too much for FEGLI? Shop around. Go look at State Farm. Go look at USAA. Go look at these other places. Maybe you bank somewhere that has life insurance, right? Go look at WAEPA. Go look at these other options to say, okay, can you get a better deal? Right? It does depend on your age, it does depend on your health, it depends on a number of things, and maybe FEGLI is the best option for you. I don't know, right? I don't have anything against the FEGLI program. I think it works great for a lot of people, but there comes a point where it becomes very expensive, and if you don't need it, or there's cheaper ways to do it, then might as well do that, right? So, again, question number 1, do you need life insurance? Question number 2, how long do you need it? And if so, if you need it, right, what is the cheapest and best way and place to get it? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself today to be prepared for today, but also tomorrow, that you and your family are taken care of no matter what. So I hope that was helpful. And again, in the back end of 2021, we're really making a huge push to get this information out to as many federal employees as we possibly can, to bring as much value and confidence and all these things to federal employees so that they are comfortable and knowledgeable about the benefits that they have and the best options for them. So have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.